Okay, before we get started, I want to make sure that you have Lesson 13 video notes. In our first set of directions, the shape represents one whole. So the shape represents one whole. I'm going to underline that. Write a unit fraction to describe the shaded part. So the shaded part would be 1/2 because this is split into two equal parts with 1/2 of it shaded in. Now on our letter B, the shaded part represents one whole. So not the shape this time, the shaded part equals one whole. Divide one whole to show the same unit fraction you wrote in part A. So I'm going to split this one in halves right down the middle because this is 1/2 and then this would be 1/2 because the shaded part is a whole. Now in this number 2A, remember this, in this column the shape represents the whole. So we have 1/4, and in this column the shaded part represents a whole. So now we have to split this into fourths just like the whole thing. So then one shaded part would equal 1/4. Now down to 3A, the shape is split into threes. So the shaded part is 1/3. Now over here we have to split this shaded part into thirds because remember the shaded part represents the whole. So I'm going to go ahead and split this into thirds as best you can. So this is 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. Now for A, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal parts with one shaded in. So this means we have 1/5. And then we have to make this shaded part, which is the whole, into 5 parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our one little shaded part equals 1/5. Now on 5A, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember this is the whole, and the shaded part represents 1/6. Now in this part, remember the shaded part is the one that equals the whole, not the whole shape. And we have to divide this shaded part, or the shaded whole, into 1/6, just like this fraction over here. So to do that, I'm going to split this in half and then split it twice down the middle to make 6 little boxes, so 6 parts. And this equals 1/6. Okay, now on to the next page. We are going to be filling in some answers here. We're going to use the diagram below to complete the following statements. Here's rope A, B, and C. Rope blank is half the length of rope B. So is this half the length of rope B, or is this half the length of rope B? So half the length of rope B would be here. So it looks like rope C is half the length of rope B. Now rope blank is half the length of rope A. So half the length of rope A would be right about here. So which one matches up with this? Which would be rope B. Now C. Rope C is 1/4 the length of rope, which one? So C, here's C. Let's split this into fourths. So here we go. Rope C is 1/4 the length of rope A. Okay, now D, if rope B measures 1 meter long, then rope A is blank meters long, and rope C is blank meters long. So rope B, this is the whole thing, represents 1 meter, but rope A is twice the size, so that would be 2 meters long. And then rope C would be half the length of rope B, so it's a 1/2 meter long. And then for rope A measures 1 meter long. Rope B is blank meters long, and rope C is blank meters long. So if rope A is 1 meter, then this must be 1/2 meter. So rope B is 1/2 meter, which means that rope C would be 1/4 meter long. Now on this one, it's supposed to be shaded, but it looks like my printer didn't want to make that show up, so I'm just going to draw the line where it should be shaded into. So all of this should be shaded on your copy. It's just not on my copy. So the directions say, Miss Fan drew the figure below on the board. She asked the class to name the shaded fraction. Charlie answered 3/4. Janice answered 3/2. Jenna thinks they're both right. Whom do you agree? Explain your thinking. But this whole shape is split into, this is the line right here. So it's split into halves. So this is a 1/2 and this is a 1/2. But a 1/2 of a 1/2 is already shaded in on that second. So it's not 2 full halves and it's not 3/4 because we don't have 4 equal parts. We have 2 equal parts. So I think it depends on what the whole is, and they never told us what the whole is. So I'm going to put it depends on what the whole is. We'll say if it's the large rectangle, the whole rectangle. If the whole is the large rectangle, which means this whole box, then 3/4 would be correct because we could split this into 4ths to 4 equal parts. And I'll draw you, we'll redraw it and we'll split it into 4ths. So just so we know, here's 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. And then all these would be colored in. And 1 part would equal 1/4. So that would be correct. But then we have to prove that this would be right. But if it's the smaller, and we'll draw our example here. And then we have a 1/2 here. Well, we'd have a 1/2 here. And all these were colored in. So each little part equals 1/2, 2/2, and 3/2. So you can't really agree with anybody on this because we don't know what the whole is.